So welcome back to the channel. I gotta do a water test. I do this once a week. And then if it gets crazy out of unbalanced, I'll bring a water sample down to the pool place. The alkalinity's good. Oh, the pH is way off. And the hardness is good. And also I use a chlorine frogger. It flips upside down when you know you need to replace the chlorine part of it. Wanted to give you an update on the land development cost. We got pricing from the town water department, and it was $16,970 to bring water from up the street down to our property. And they sent me a quote, and it said it was 1,250 some odd feet from where their connection is to our property. And then this is on the other side of the road. It's not on our side of the road, but on the other side of the road. And so they would have to drill underneath the road. I'm not sure what that's all about, but underneath the road, and bring a meter box to our property. $16,970. So I said to him, I said, well, I can imagine the labor of digging a trench 1,250 feet or so down the road, and I don't know how deep they have to go for South Carolina. I know here is like 4.5 feet or 4 feet or something. So I said the labor must be, to dig that whole trench. And they said, well, actually, we don't charge any labor. We only charge for material. Like $16,970 for material. So we're looking into, of course, going with a well. So we called around and we got a well guy that kind of gave us a ballpark over the phone. He said we really can't give an exact cost, but he says minimum is $6,000 to come to the property and set up and everything, and then whatever feet or something, if I understood it correctly, whatever feet, I don't even know, but anyways, until they get water, until they drill until they get water, we don't know what that would be. And he said that it could be 8,000 or 10,000, 6, 8, 10, whatever. Way better than $16,970, and I wouldn't have the cost of the water bill. So I think we're probably going to go that way to save some money. So I mentioned in one of my videos that the land didn't perk for a septic tank, a traditional septic system. So we have to go engineered system, which I think all septic tanks and leach fields are engineered. I guess you have to do a whole thing to get the town involved or whatever, but I'm talking out of my butt right now because I really don't know. So because it didn't perk, we have to go with an engineered system, and I guess it's 4 tanks. The first tank catches all the solids, and the liquids float up and get pushed into the secondary tank. The secondary tank has an air rating system, goes into there by an air pump that pumps air to this secondary tank, and then it kind of bubbles around a little bit, and then as that tank fills up, goes into the third tank. The third tank has a kind of like a chlorine dripper, or you can use chlorine tablets, but not like pool stuff or anything. This is meant for a septic system. In that third tank, that's where that happens. And then the fourth tank has the pump and a pump arm and all that stuff in that fourth tank, and that pump pumps water to like a sprinkling type of system that you could sprinkle your front lawn, because at this point the water is somewhat clean and you can water your front yard, or it goes to a small leach field bed, I think, or something. So that cost was between $22,000 to $25,000. And then we called in to the electrical company or power supply company, or whatever you want to call it. We called into there and they haven't got back to us yet, but she took down our email and we're going to get the cost of running electricity. There's a pole right on our property. I'm not sure if they're connecting to that pole, and I'm not sure if they're doing it underground, but they said that they'll get power from that source or whatever to the property with a temporary service. Once we had that temporary service there, we would be responsible from digging for wherever that temporary service is to the house. That's what I'm understanding, I think. So we don't know what that cost is going to be yet for the electrical part of it. So the next is land clearing. We met one guy down there because we ran out of time. It was actually, we called a couple of people and 2 people never showed up and the third guy showed up. And we're running out of time down there, so we couldn't meet up with somebody else. But we had this guy come down there and he was talking about, we were kind of getting a general idea of where we wanted the house, but we still not sure of everything. So he says, let me clear out an area and we'll grade it with the material on site, you know, like moving dirt, just filling in the low spots, taking away at the high spots. And he says, and at that point, once we get that cleared, we can kind of go through what needs to be done for those 2 gullies. I mentioned that there was 2 gullies on the property, 2 big gullies that need to be kind of connected. We're not even sure if water runs down them or not. That's another thing. That's a whole other different issue, but doesn't include that, and it doesn't include the driveway coming in. This basically price was just to clear a section of land, and then they're just going to push the trees and the tree trunks out, and none of that's going to get removed. I bet you it's going to be a big mess, but anyways, that stuff, and then it didn't include the driveway, and the driveway needs a culvert too. There's a little bit of a thing there that might need a culvert. We're not 100% sure, but they might need a culvert. But basically, it's just clearing the land and pushing the trees and the brush out and the stumps and grading a little bit. And that was $10,500. And then we would have to reevaluate after that point and seeing, okay, well, how much is this going to cost to, for these gullies and then the driveway? And that's when he would say, okay, we might need, 5 truckloads of this or 5 truckloads of that, and this is what it's going to be cost. So that's another cost that we ran into, which now we're kind of putting on hold. We're going to wait until we actually move down there to, we're going to clear the land ourselves because we get to choose what trees we want to keep. We get to, I think it's better off for us to go down there and clear the land ourselves. So I don't know if that's going to be from me renting a mini excavator or me buying one. I think buying one makes more sense because it's all those trees and stumps, even though we're pushing it off, all going to have to get put in burn piles. There's always going to be work that needs to be done. Pushing, I think it would be better off buying one. And then, so I think we're going to go that direction. And then we'll decide what's going to happen with the land, how we're going to do things, and I'll figure it out. I've never done it before, but I'll figure it out. Everything I can possibly do myself without having to have another company come in. I'm going to try to do all myself, my wife and I. I posted a video about the conflict that we have with trying to move furniture from here down to there with pulling a camper. And we can't put all the stuff in the camper because we're staying at a campground until we get the land cleared. And how are we going to stay in a camper full of stuff? And then we thought about renting a pod and have a pod come over and we can stuff that and then have that shit. But we just don't know how long they're going to have to store it for. It could be a long time before I actually get the land cleared and get enough room there so they can deliver the pod. It might be a year. It might be a year and a half. And we have to build a shed to be able to put the stuff in the shed once they deliver the pod. So we came up with a better solution we're going to buy a construction utility trailer or box trailer or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to buy one of those, and we're going to put all our furniture and my tools and everything in there. And that's what we're going to use to travel and move to South Carolina with. We're looking for a house right now for an Airbnb so we can actually park our trailer that's full of stuff in the driveway, so we can rent a house, have our trailer there, live in the house for 1 or 2 months while we work on the property, get it cleared and get, you know, the water on there and get electricity on there enough where we feel comfortable enough to get the camper on there. And so now we're just going to buy a camper while we're down there. So it's definitely going to be crazy for the next year and a half, maybe a year, you know, going through all our stuff, boxes and clothes and furniture and tools, just a crazy amount of stuff. And on top of that, trying to get things scheduled down there, you know, the Airbnb, find one of those. So I think that's the best bet. So it's definitely going to be a crazy time for us, and we're going to share every moment of it. So I'm going to be posting videos from yard sales to donations to everything in between, showing you when we go to develop the land, building our home. So I hope you guys stay with us and stick along and, you know, and watch this crazy journey we're on. All right. Until the next one. Peace.